Hello, my name's Pete, and I work for a company called Atom Brands. You may or may not have heard of them, but I'm sure that through the space of this little talk that we're gonna get to know each other pretty well. I'm not going to go into too much about my background, but I used to work for the Macallan, and before that Gonzalez Bias, which is a Spanish sherry and wine producer. So my background's really in whiskey. But now I'm with a company which really specializes in innovation, incubation of brands, and charging distribution up and up and up. I was thinking about this whole topic and about who you guys might be. And I don't know you, but really, you could be producers starting your own company, or salespeople, or perhaps you're here from marketing, or perhaps journalists. I don't know. But I wanted to look at my business model and the company I work with's business model and try and figure out how to translate that into your guys' world. Because I know that what we do is very asymmetric. We work within a fantastic loop that we've created, but how can we translate that into other people's world? That's what I'm going to try and do today. Okay, so Atom Group is the umbrella company for whom I work for. Atom Brands, specifically, is the brand creators behind Ableforce Bathtub Gin, Rumbullion, That Boutique Whiskey Company, Airlight Lindsay, some really cool products that are either established or becoming established. We're also in line with Maverick Drinks, who's a UK distributor, won Distributor of the Year 3 years out of the last 4. Absolutely killing it in terms of the UK stage. And Master of Malt, who you referenced quite nicely, who are an online specialist retailer. What we do in terms of our business is we circulate and we communicate to each other. So we're able to feed information in real life through from Master of Malt, which has a huge number of unique clicks every week, and people purchasing from all over the world. So we're able to gather live information all the time in terms of purchasing interests, where people are clicking on something and then going off of it again, where they're actually going through to purchasing, repeat purchasing, all that sort of stuff, which provides information to Atom Brands, which creates products. So that information, we're actually able to look at these trends and buying habits, and we're able to see that there's white spaces or grey spaces in product mixes. And so if we're looking, for example, at whiskey, Scotch whiskey, then one of the new products that we have coming out just now is called Airlight Lindsay. It's a 10-year-old Islay whiskey. And the reason why we did that, we're going to look at a slide just in a little bit to sort of analyze some of the data, but we knew that there was an over-indexing of products being bought from Islay. The flavor profile was very on trend. People were really ramping it up over the last 4 or 5 years. So we're looking at a huge interest, but a very small collection of actual distillers and brands coming out of Islay. So we're looking at that white space. From Atom Brands, we sell to Maverick Drinks, where we're able to test our products in market, and that sells again through to the Master of Malt. So that's our circle. But in terms of you guys, you might not have the luxury of being aligned with Master of Malt and Maverick Drinks. You don't have your inbuilt distribution and online capabilities. But what you can do is look a bit outside the box and look into other avenues to be able to figure that out. What we specialize in Atom Brands and Maverick Drinks is the innovation and seeding of products. That's our world. And to do that, we have what we call a playpen, which is insight coming from Master of Malt, insight coming from the market, and insight coming from our new product development team that will create hundreds and hundreds of ideas that could fit within special categories. So we have our whiskies, we have our gins, we have our rums, we have our other spirits, and they will work continuously trying to come up with new ideas. From those new ideas, what we do in terms of our business model is we test it. And we test it through an analysis. So we put a small quantity of whatever product it is. We ideate. If it gets through a series of checks within internally, then we make a very small quantity of that product and we put it onto master of malt to see how it does in real life. If we have success there and we get feedback coming through from real consumers, then it goes through that gate and it goes into our seed. And seeding is really where we chucked into our distributor Maverick Drinks, and we go into a few special accounts that we have good relationships with, and we see how it does in the on-trade and we see how it does in the off-trade. If again we see success coming back, then we're able to start bringing it out into full-scale UK distribution and also into small pockets of Europe, Asia, and America. And so we're able to go into export with these products. And if, again, we see success, then we're able to then move past that gate and into global distribution where we're charging that distribution to bring it up and up and up. Now, this is all really cool because we've been able to figure out how to do it as an internal sort of organization, but that doesn't help you in the slightest. This is just a little bit of a humble brag. So what I was thinking was, how can you do this methodology in real life? And what I thought was that in terms of innovating, you guys all work within this industry, so you know your stuff, like your smart cookies, and you know what you're going to make. But you need to be able to validate that product and see how it's going to do in its real life environment. And you have resources available. You know, one of the pieces that we did recently was trying to validate a new product, and instead of doing it sort of top line and going through master of malt and going through direct channels sort of through the drinks industry, we went through Reddit. So we actually put together a brand proposition and then sort of tailored it down and put it to Reddit to see what the actual input would be from consumers. And we got hundreds and hundreds of live reactions to a new product which wasn't real yet, coming through from an online community that's engaged. You can also do the same with your Facebook and your Instagram or whatever social channel that you might want to use, but utilizing the digital space to be able to reach consumers within specialist fields is a really great way of being able to validate an assumption that you have that a product may or may not work. And you're able to get all this feedback in and use it. If at that stage you think, okay, I've got this thing and it's going to work, you have to start putting your money where your mouth is and invest in creating the product. Now, you can do it at a big or little scale. Obviously, economy of scale means that more you make, less you're going to be spending and less you can sell it for, which means your volumes are going to go up. Cool, that's absolutely fine. But to essentially prove a concept of a product, you can also make a short run at a higher price and sell it within a community. That could be Master Malt or Whiskey Exchange or whatever avenue you want, or Amazon. These things exist for entrepreneurs and small scale. You can be big scale as well, but it can work in terms of small scale too. And that's what I really like about working in today's environment rather than 20 years ago. We just didn't have that at all. If your feedback is again positive, you're then able to go into distribution, and that's really just relationships. You know, all that we do is basically relationship building day in, day out, right? So if you're going into an account, be it on-trade, off-trade, domestic or export, whatever it is, you know whether you've got a relationship with these guys or not. And you're able to chuck them a few bottles or be able to give them a little bit of a spin and say, look, get this behind your bar, see how it does over the course of 2 weeks. If you find that you're selling it, let me know. I'm interested. And that feedback, again, can be validating your product range, your mix. The next slide, I'm going to show you essentially what our playpen looks like, what our product creation and lab looks like. And it's this. We've taken a very different approach from a single producer sort of mix. We've created brands from absinthe to, I was trying to think of something beginning with Z, but I can't figure any one out. We work across all spirits categories. We work in whiskey, gin, rum, liqueurs, specialist products. And it's really a way for us to be able to say, right, we get this information from Master of Malt. We see those blank spaces. Can we create a product that's going to be able to fit in them? And we can. That's one of the joys of the business that I work in that we produce lots and lots of different things, and we have ways and means of sourcing other spirits to be able to create them. So to use some data from Master Malt, and you can use this from something like Amazon or Master Malt, which is essentially databases filled with information anyway. Whether you get it or not, you can look through your category and see that there's 40 different products within it, and that 13 of them are sold out, and that 6 of them have 200 reviews. That tells you that that category may be small, and it specializes. It focuses in on something specific, right? So with an Islay whiskey, we know that only 12.5% of the distilleries in Scotland are based in Islay, right? There's only 9 of them, and only 7 of them are producing aged whiskey. But it accounts for 20% of the sales. So it's over-indexing. That says to us that there's a space in there to be able to move in and be able to create a product that's going to fit in. It's also in huge growth right now, 18.8% year on year. That gives us another indication that's going to be moving on up more as well. But essentially being able to validate your product mix with information is what I'm trying to get through to you, is that you can validate without spending money, and you can create your product portfolio without having to overinvest. You know, you don't need to take a gamble all the time because you want to make something. You can do it through the eyes of the consumer too. And then finally, I want to show you what our gate system looks like. You can see in this slide that we've got these gates, and what they actually look like in real life is this, which is a SWOT analysis. We all do SWOT analysis all the time, right? I mean, we do it in our heads mainly. We look at that strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But by essentially pimping that out, turning it into a large base where you're drilling down into things like where your revenue streams are, whether you can validate your product through revenue streams, whether you can validate your product through cost structure and channels, then you've got yourself a really, really strong case to be able to say, right, I can go to market with this product.